What's up, guys? It's Evan, and I just wanted to quickly give another example. I posted a video about opening and closing loops and how to keep people's attention, and I wanted to dive into that a little bit more because in the example in a short reel formatted video, it's easy to sort of tee someone up with a question.
Have you ever tried to say something that matters and then panicked because it got less likes or views than the picture of your breakfast from the day before?
And use the question to then create tension, which you then transition into your content. But maybe you're not making short explainer videos. So I wanted to try and explain it a little bit in this edit and video that I recently did with Cody Fry. So let's just play the beginning of this.
I've never really done anything quite like this before. This is something that I've really wanted to do for a long time, and now I have the opportunity to do it, so I'm gonna do it.
So we start off with Cody here. We don't know where he is necessarily, but we're sort of inferring that this is who he is because we hear his voice.
I've never really done anything quite like this before.
So he says, I've never really done anything quite like this before. We don't know what this is, so that opens a loop in tension of going, okay, there's an implicit question here of what is it that he's never done before.
This is something that I've really wanted to do for a long time.
It's something that he's really wanted to do. The tension is now amplifying in how he's explaining this.
And now I have the opportunity to do it, so I'm gonna do it.
Structurally, we're setting it up so that our initial loop that we're opening is this idea of like getting to do something you haven't done before, that being sort of scary but also exciting.
That's kind of how I've always been. If I follow where my excitement is taking me, to me, that's always been the path to like success as well.
And then he talks about his own path to success, which is another idea that, you know, we've now sort of teed up. We don't really know exactly what you're doing. We know that it's something you've always wanted to do. You've got an opportunity, so you're gonna do it. You tend to follow your passions to find success. And so now it's like, well, what the heck is all of this? We didn't ask a single question in this sense of like, want to know how to keep people's attention, but we have made statements that have implicit questions in them. We're letting the audience fill the gap to create the question in their own mind. It's a little bit of next level chess where you're using the negative space to hook people in. And so now we're opening all these loops, which we then get the chance to pay off later in the piece.
Thank you all for being here. And Cody, you want to tell us a little bit what we're doing?
So we have this moment here where Cody, and this is sort of to pull the audience into the moment. It's sort of this moment of authenticity, hopefully, where we get to, again, just sort of see his excitement about the day and what he's doing.
Thank you guys all so much for being here. I've been looking forward to this for so long. Orchestra.
And then we take a sharp left turn. And so, as I mentioned in the video, you know, once we have opened a loop, we can now pivot into exposition. And so we've built up all this tension in the first 40 seconds of what the heck is he doing. And now we take a hard left turn into talking about orchestra.
To me is like, it's part of my language. You know, it's like something I speak fluently, I hope. At 25, I was just hoping that could be as legato as possible. It is one of those songs that I would never have expected to like blow up. Now that it has, what that does is give me confidence to be like, okay, I can make that type of music all the time if I want to, which is kind of what I wish I could do anyway. And so it's sort of like this project is a result of feeling like I have permission to make music this way now.
And so what we're really doing here is we've taken a little bit of our left turn into talking about orchestra and his experience with orchestra and how I Hear a Symphony was one of the things that made him feel capable of doing projects like this. And now we're re-ramping up tension in sort of these loops that we've opened. We still haven't closed the initial loop, but we're getting to a major payoff. And so audio-wise and visual-wise, we're setting up this idea now that, okay, there's a build-up, which again, in the beginning, one of our opened loops was, I get the opportunity to do this. And now we're sort of going to finally pay off a little bit of, well, what is this that we get to do? And so we see headphones, we see instruments, we see cameras, and there's a riser that comes in and sort of kicks you up to this moment of like, what are you gonna do?
Permission to make music this way now, and that is really exciting to me.
And so now what we do is there's that buildup of anticipation, which is opening a loop in some ways. We're creating tension, and now we're going to release all the tension, handed you off into a new thing. And so we're not just going to hand you off into totally dead space. We hand you off into some information that now you get transported into performance world with Cody, with titles. And so we've sort of set up our initial loops in the beginning of the video. We get a minute in and we have some micro payoffs. We take our pivot after we've opened loops. We do a little bit of exposition. We ramp back up at the end and build our tension to then hand you off into the next thing. And so you get this little moment of release in the tension here. And then, the musical performance, if you watch it, is going to be its whole own set of tension and release. And so this is where, Cody and Dakota really made this incredible performance video, which has so many great beats to it. I'm hoping I don't get a copyright claim for this, but we'll see. I can always talk to Cody, I guess. So we get to the end, and there's sort of a tension release here. At the end of the song, and then we have to go back in.
That was awesome. That felt good. That was amazing. Yeah.
There's a song that Ben.
So to me, that moment is transitional because it's sort of, you could argue that it's redundant because he just finished the song, but it pulls us out of performance world and back into studio documentary world. It's a little bit of a moment of authenticity where we get to see behind the curtain, so it has that little bit of like a wink to it. And then it's also this sort of like, I don't know if a non sequitur is the right term, but it's a disconnected idea that then can hand us off back into Cody talking, where if we just went straight out of the music performance into this next segment, it feels a little bit like too hard a left turn. But by segueing from the performance back into the behind the scenes and the guys talking about the end of it, then we can take, it's like two subtle left turns to now get into the segment talking about Ben Rector. Oops.
Song at so.
Play that again.
That was awesome. That felt good. That was amazing. Yeah.
There's a song that Ben Rector and I have sung at so many shows together. When I was touring with him, we would end the whole show. It'd be him and I. We'd go out and we'd sing and play the song. Felt the rain.
And so I'm not going to go through this whole video. You can watch it, and I'm curious to see if you look at it from this perspective, how you think about it. But, some of the things that I think about with this are we're doing a little bit of CSA. So we're opening a loop where Ben introduces Ben Rector. Again, you may know who he is, you may not. But so we're introducing the audience to Ben Rector in that moment. And a little bit of this sort of behind the curtain interaction between them.
Ben Rector and I have sung at so many shows together.
And sort of introducing them going back out together. So we're playing a little bit with the tension of Cody's talking about there's this song that me and this guy have played, and now we're seeing Cody and this guy go to do something. And so there's an implicit tension, again, negative space tension in our head of, oh, the next thing that's coming is this song with Cody and this guy that we just got introduced to. And so we want to see that paid off. Hopefully, if you just liked the last performance, now we've opened a loop to what the next performance may be and a little bit of this backstory behind it. And so you're able to close the gap to go, okay, well, I'm curious about this.
When I was touring with him, we would end the whole show. It'd be him and I. We'd go out and we'd sing and play the song.
And so now we're introducing the song in a small snippet, and this is another moment that if you know the song or you don't, it's a cool little behind-the-scenes snippet of, Cody just sort of warming up earlier in the day. So this isn't like a big moment, and it's a moment that you could skip over, but I think about it as like a moment to add authenticity and depth for the fans watching this to go like, oh, this is a real thing, and that sort of builds that connection. And again, we're giving you a little snippet because he's teased the idea that there's this song that he used to play with Ben, and now we're seeing it in a form, but not its final form.
Felt the rain on my skin. I've been lost and found. Mostly I've been waiting.
I love the lyric of Sailboat. I think
And so we come out of that and we go immediately into this idea that I love the lyric of Sailboat, which to me opens another loop in our mind of like, well, why? And so that's another good in point now for us to start you wanting to hear the rest of what Cody has to say. Where in some ways, even if he were to just start telling a story on its own, it wouldn't necessarily hook you. But because we've opened that loop that says that I really love the lyric, we're like, oh, he's going to tell us something meaningful about what this means to him. And I want to know what that is. So we've opened another loop. And so you see this pattern of we're opening and closing loops. We're asking an implicit question and then paying off the question, and asking a new implicit question and paying off the question. And that sort of continues to pull you through this narrative.
it describes so much of how I feel a lot of the time, especially pursuing like creative things. So much of the time feels just like you're out in the ocean, just like hoping some breeze will come to like blow you in the right direction. You have the boat and the rudder and you're in control of that, but you can't control the wind that makes the boat move. I just love that idea. It's always been something that really connected with me.
And that gets us into the performance of Sailboat and another YouTube ad. So I'm going to stop here for now because I think you get the idea. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them below. But yeah, I just wanted to sort of elaborate on a more practical example if you're making more cinematic content, to the thinking in how I sort of structure these ideas of opening, closing loops, building tension and having payoff, and how you can use that to pull your audience through. Because if you're not constantly asking questions and giving people answers, they will get bored. But that you don't have to like slam people with clickbait and questions and watch till the end and whatever else. There are much more eloquent ways and subtle ways, and depending on what you're doing, maybe you do the more brute force thing. You know, some of the Instagram content I've been doing is definitely a little more just like in your face, and if you're doing something cinematic, you can be a little more subtle like this. So I'm excited to see your thoughts, and hopefully this all worked. If you like this, let me know, because I will do more of them. Thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate you guys. Watch it be like, none of